it was only going to cost 35 billion, and then it was going to cost 50 billion, and then it was going to cost 80 billion, and the advance is now at 100 billion, maybe 150 billion by the time we finish. Oh, and it won't be finished until 2041. That at least is what the farce that we've had with HS2, which I've been deeply sceptical about from day one. But now it would seem the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has poured cold water over the whole thing by saying, no, actually, it won't be extending beyond Birmingham to Manchester. And interestingly, Labour's Pat McFadden, speaking on the subject, has not guaranteed that Labour would continue HS2 from Birmingham to Manchester. Even more extraordinarily, it now looks like it won't even come into Euston, but it might stop 6 miles away at Old Oak Common, meaning by the time you get off the London Underground, get up to Old Oak Common, get the train to Birmingham, it'll actually be slower than the existing service. Now, the argument that was for HS2 was we needed more capacity for passengers and that somehow there was this vast economic benefit in getting up to Manchester 20 minutes more quickly. Well, I've thought for some time the whole thing should be shelved, but Miranda Baker is Chief Executive of the East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce in Burnley, and I understand, Miranda, that you feel differently about this. You think HS2 could make a difference to the North West. So please, tell us all.
Thank you. The reason we think this is a good idea for the north of England, for UK as a whole, is because if you have more capacity to be able to put people on HS2, you then have more ability to move freight, and I mean really highly competitive freight, all around the UK and overseas. Because when we talk to our competitors for our highly profitable aerospace, automotive, low carbon tech markets across the north of England, they say that our problem with our UK product in the rest of the world is it's too expensive and too slow. And that's because we can't ship it. And
OK, well, look, I mean, Miranda, you know, it's good to hear somebody making the freight argument. It rarely gets made. And given how awful it is to drive up the M6, you know, the argument we could move more freight by rail, I buy into. But you don't need, you know, 180 mile per hour railway line to move freight, do you?
You need extra capacity, and that's why you need an extra line, because you can't obviously put slower freight trains in between something where you are trying to move people in a couple of hours to and from Manchester. So the value was in having a whole new line.
Yeah, well, look, I tell you what, we could build a very, very cheap line for freight, I suppose. But Miranda, I mean, you know, first off, we were told it wouldn't be completed until 2041. Now we're really doubting it's ever going to happen at all. I mean, this isn't going to happen, is it?
It's the government, and I don't care what colour government, it's the way government deals with major problems, major projects that's the problem. They set up the Infrastructure Commission originally so that it would help us do major projects across the UK without this ridiculous extending of timescale and budgets going up and up and up. But because that Infrastructure Commission and government's way of managing major projects is so inefficient, it allows this whole, you know, rolling on and on and on, getting less and less efficient. And it then makes them into this kind of joke that we hear today, that it's not even going to deliver the basic requirements that were originally planned for. I think we need to look at the way that all governments, whatever colour, handle this kind of investment so we don't look like a laughingstock.
Well, I agree with that, Miranda, whether it's the Scottish Parliament that ran 10 times over the budget, whether it's HS2, we seem to be very, very bad at this. Thank you very much indeed. A disappointed Miranda Baker there from Burnley in the northwest of England.